Have you ever noticed how quickly people lose respect for you the moment you start explaining yourself? You tell them your dreams. You share your plans. You open up, hoping they'll understand your vision. But instead, something shifts. Their eyes glaze over, their responses feel flat, and suddenly, what felt powerful in your heart now feels small, fragile, even foolish. Why does that happen? It's because the world doesn't listen to words. It listens to results. We live in a time where everyone is busy talking. Everyone is posting, sharing, announcing. But the loudest voice isn't always the strongest. Sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one who says nothing, the one who observes, builds, sharpens, grows quietly, and then shows up with something so undeniable no one can ignore it. But here's the trap. Most people don't realize this. They fall into the habit of explaining. They feel pressure to prove they're doing something with their life, so they start talking about it. But that urge to share, that's not strength, that's insecurity. That's the need for validation, approval, attention. And let's be honest, most people don't care about what you say you're doing. They care about what you've done. That's the truth that stings. That's the part nobody wants to hear. But if you truly want to win, if you want to rise in silence and walk into any room with undeniable presence, this is where it starts. You must learn to protect your mission. You must learn to find peace in silence. You must build without applause, without recognition, without needing anyone to cheer you on. Because here's the real reward. When you stop telling people what you're doing, you take back your power. You stop wasting energy on trying to be understood, and you start using that energy to create. You shift from being a talker to being a builder. And that shift, that's where your breakthrough begins. You become dangerous in the best way. Not because you're loud, but because you're focused. You're locked in. You move differently. While others are talking about their next big move, you're already 10 steps ahead, executing, refining, growing. And when your time comes, you don't need to say a word. Your results will do the talking for you. This world doesn't owe you recognition. It doesn't owe you belief or support. But it will respect you when you stop trying to prove yourself and start proving it through your actions. So ask yourself this. What are you giving away every time you open your mouth to explain your dreams to people who don't care, who don't understand, or worse, who quietly hope you'll fail? What are you sacrificing when you speak your vision too early? You're trading momentum for momentary validation. You're trading your power for a pat on the back. You're giving away your hunger, your fire, your edge for the illusion of progress. But you don't need that anymore. You're not here to be seen talking. You're here to be remembered for what you built. So stay quiet. Let them wonder. Let them doubt you. Let them write you off. And while they're busy doing that, you'll be busy working, creating, preparing for a moment so powerful that no one will ever question you again. You don't need to tell people what you do. When you're finished, they'll know. And when you choose silence, something strange begins to happen. You start to feel stronger, clearer, focused. The noise fades. The pressure to impress disappears. You stop performing for the world and start working for yourself. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You're used to saying something every time you feel inspired. You're used to getting that little hit of praise when you talk about your goals. But what you don't realize is that praise becomes a drug. And once you depend on it, you start chasing the feeling instead of chasing the result. That's why so many people start big but finish nothing. They talk about writing a book, launching a business, transforming their life, but that high of announcing it tricks their brain. It feels like progress, but it's not. It's a substitute, a performance. And in the end, nothing changes. Because your brain doesn't care if you've done it or not. It just wants to feel like you did. And talking gives it that reward too early. Dopamine hits, validation, attention. That's how the trap is set. You think you're moving forward, but you're just standing still in a circle of your own words. But the moment you stop speaking and start doing, everything shifts. Now your reward isn't in the talking, it's in the building, it's in the grind. The small wins, the quiet victories nobody sees. That's where real momentum lives. And it's addictive in a different way. It's deeper. Because this time, you're not chasing approval. You're building self-respect. You're stacking evidence. Every action becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. You're not trying to convince anyone anymore. You're becoming undeniable. People feel that energy. They notice it. Even when you say nothing. The way you move. The way you carry yourself. There's a confidence that silence gives you, a quiet certainty. It's the power of someone who doesn't need to be seen because they know exactly where they're going. But to get there, you have to break the habit of explaining. You have to let go of the need to be understood. Not everyone deserves access to your vision. Not everyone is qualified to hear your plans. Some people will try to shrink your dream just because they can't see it for themselves. Some will question you out of fear, not wisdom. And if you're not careful, their doubt becomes your doubt. Their limitations become your hesitation. That's why silence is protection, not just from distraction, but from contamination. Guard your vision, like it's sacred. Because it is. It's not for likes. It's not for comments. It's not a marketing pitch. It's your purpose, your path, your mission. And not everyone gets to touch that. So when someone asks, what are you working on? Smile. Say less. Let them guess. Let your discipline confuse them. Let your absence from the noise speak louder than any announcement ever could. Because when you finally show up with the thing you've been building, they won't ask why you were quiet. They'll ask how you did it. And that's when you'll know the silence was worth it. But don't just think about it. Don't just listen and agree. Use it. Take this moment right now as a line in the sand. From today forward, you don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Let your actions rise louder than your voice ever could. You're not here to impress. You're here to impact. And impact begins in silence. In the hours nobody sees. In the discipline nobody applauds. In the days you keep showing up when no one's watching. That's where greatness begins. Quiet, focused, unshakable. So hold your vision close. Build it brick by brick. Protect it like it's the only thing that matters. Because it is. And remember this, the more powerful the mission, the less it needs to be spoken. Let the world see the results when it's ready. But until then, stay locked in. Stay humble. Stay silent. Because your greatness is not in what you say. It's in what you're becoming. But silence alone is not enough. It's not just about saying less. It's about doing more. It's about replacing empty conversations with focused execution. About trading applause for progress. Because in the end, the only thing that moves your life forward is action. Quiet, consistent, unstoppable action. This is where most people get stuck. They go quiet, but they don't move. They confuse silence with stillness. But silence isn't passive. It's not hiding. It's not avoidance. It's pressure being built. Strength being forged. It's the storm that gathers before it strikes. When you stop talking and start doing, you shift your power from words to work. And in that shift, something powerful begins to grow. Momentum. And momentum is everything. Once you have it, it carries you forward. It creates clarity. Discipline becomes easier. Motivation becomes less necessary. Now you're not pushing yourself. You're being pulled by a vision that's becoming real. But momentum only comes to those who move without needing to be seen. The ones who post less and practice more. The ones who rise early, stay late, and don't need to broadcast every sacrifice they make. They're not showing off, they're showing up every day, quietly, relentlessly, with purpose. That kind of silence speaks volumes, because in that silence, you start to feel something deeper, a fire, a hunger. You start to realize you don't need outside validation anymore. You don't need someone to clap for you. You clap for yourself every time you push through when it's hard. Every time you show up when it's inconvenient. Every time you choose discipline over distraction. And every time you do that, you're not just building your dream, you're building you. A stronger you. A version of you that doesn't fold under pressure. A version that doesn't need permission. A version that's dangerous, not because it's loud, but because it can't be shaken. This is the mindset that separates those who wish from those who win. Wishing sounds nice. It feels good to dream out loud, but it doesn't build anything. It doesn't get you up at 5 a.m. It doesn't push you through doubt. Wishing is a fantasy. But working in silence, that's reality. That's where transformation happens. That's when you stop living in your head and start living in your hands. Doing the work, building brick by brick, alone if you have to, without recognition, without reward, and most importantly, without quitting. Because no one can take that from you. The hours no one sees, the late nights, the early mornings, the pain, the grind. That becomes your edge. That becomes your fuel. While others are trying to impress the world, you're preparing to impact it. And make no mistake, impact always speaks louder than image. This is why you never need to announce what you're doing. Because when you live like this, you don't have to explain anything. Your results will say it all. The way you show up, the way you move, the way success starts following you, not because you begged for attention, but because you earned respect. So stop leaking your power with every conversation about what you're going to do. Stop inviting opinions that you never needed. Stop feeding the part of you that wants applause before you finish the work. Starve that version of you. And feed the one who stays focused, quiet, intentional, ruthless with time, obsessed with execution, in love with the process, because that version of you doesn't just talk about change, they become it. And when you become it, no one can deny it. No one can ignore it. No one can question it. Because you won't have to say a word. Your life will speak for you. So stay in the shadows. Stay in the silence. Build with your head down and your standards high. Let the world wonder what you're doing. Let them whisper. Let them guess. But you keep working. You keep showing up. Because the day is coming when you won't need to introduce yourself anymore. The world will already know who you are. That kind of recognition, the kind that comes without asking for it, isn't given. It's earned. And you earn it not by trying to be seen, but by choosing to be different, by doing what others are too lazy, too scared, or too distracted to do. You earn it by staying committed when it's not convenient, or by sacrificing comfort for purpose, by holding yourself to a standard that most people wouldn't even consider. Because greatness is not found in the spotlight. It's found in the shadows, in the quiet corners of discipline where nobody's watching, nobody's clapping, and nobody's handing out trophies. That's where champions are made. That's where your edge is carved. You're not supposed to be understood right now. You're supposed to be doubted, ignored, overlooked. That's part of the process. That silence from the world isn't punishment. It's preparation. It's space. Space to evolve, to train, to sharpen. So when the moment comes, you don't just arrive. You dominate. But to get there, you have to stop needing to be noticed. You have to kill the part of you that wants credit before results, that wants attention before mastery, that wants validation before proof, because that part of you is weak, and weakness can't lead. The strongest version of you is not the one that talks, it's the one that acts, that keeps promises in the dark, that finishes what it starts, that holds the vision even when it feels like no one else believes. The world loves to celebrate the outcome, the success, the spotlight moment, but no one sees the years it took, the nights of self-doubt, the hours of repetition, the silence. And that's fine, because you're not doing this for recognition. You're doing this because you have to. Because something inside of you refuses to settle, refuses to stay quiet, not with words, but with potential. There's something you were meant to build, something only you can bring to life. But you'll never reach it if you keep explaining yourself to people who don't share your fire, who don't carry your burden, who don't hear the voice that keeps you awake at night telling you there's more. And there is more, but you'll never find it in conversations that drain you. You'll never find it in comments and opinions. You'll only find it in the work, in the struggle, in the decision to keep going when it's easier to quit. You don't need a stage. You need discipline. You don't need more likes. You need more reps. You don't need more eyes on you. You need more pressure in you. Because pressure creates diamonds. And diamonds don't speak, they shine. So let your silence shine. Let it become your trademark. Let it separate you from the noise. Because the loudest room is rarely the most powerful one. It's often the most insecure. But you're not here to fit into that noise. You're here to rise above it. And the higher you rise, the quieter it gets. That's the irony. At the top, there's less talk, more clarity, fewer distractions, more truth. The ones who made it, they know. They've lived through the silence. They've carried the weight of their own vision when no one else could see it. And now, they live with results so loud, they never have to raise their voice. That's the standard. That's the mindset. So don't waste another breath explaining yourself. Don't hand out pieces of your vision like it's something cheap. It's not. It's sacred. And it's yours. Let your work be your proof. Let your discipline be your voice. Let your future speak so loudly that your past becomes irrelevant. Because when the results come, and they will come, people will look at you differently. They'll wonder how you did it, where you came from, how you moved in silence for so long. And all you'll do is smile because you'll know what they don't. You never needed them to see you. You just needed to become the version of you they could never ignore. You become that version not by talking louder, but by digging deeper, By doing the inner work, the kind nobody sees, nobody celebrates, and nobody claps for. The kind of work that breaks you down and builds you back stronger. The kind that requires you to face yourself, strip away your excuses, and rise above your own limitations. That's the transformation the world never sees coming. Because while they were watching someone else's highlight reel, you were building a legacy in silence. Silence teaches discipline. It teaches patience. It teaches you to be enough for yourself, to rely on your own standard, to stay focused even when the applause is missing, the results are slow, and the progress feels invisible. That's where the real separation happens. Not in the moments of victory, but in the spaces between. When it's quiet. When it's hard. When quitting would be easy, but you choose to endure. Endurance. That's the trait no one talks about. Everyone wants speed. Results now. Success fast. But those who endure, the ones who are willing to suffer longer, train harder, and wait with purpose, those are the ones who break through. They understand that silence isn't a pause, it's preparation, and preparation is what makes you unstoppable. Most people underestimate you because you don't announce every step. They assume you're stuck, that nothing's happening. But you know better. You know the seeds are being planted. And you also know that the longer something takes to grow, the stronger its roots. The deeper the foundation, the greater the impact. So don't fear being underestimated. Use it. Let it fuel you. Let it become the silence before the strike. Because one day, everything you've worked for, the hours, the pain, the isolation, it'll break the surface. And when it does, it won't be small. It won't be a whisper. It will be undeniable. That kind of power can't be faked. It can't be fast-tracked. It has to be earned through the grind no one wants to do. Earned through choosing focus when everyone else is choosing comfort. Earned through walking alone when the crowd begs you to follow. And here's the truth. If you need the crowd, you'll never be the one they follow. Leaders don't blend in. They don't ask for permission. They don't explain every move. They move in silence. With intention. With vision. With a commitment to become so solid, so sharp, that they don't chase opportunities. Opportunities chase them. But it starts with the decision to shut out the noise. Not just the noise around you, but the noise within. That voice that says, you're not good enough. That you're too late. That you need approval before you act. Silence that voice. Replace it with action, with discipline, with belief rooted in work, not words. Because no matter how loud your doubts are, your actions will always speak louder. No matter how many people ignore you, your consistency will outlast their attention span. And no matter how small your progress may seem today, if you stay locked in, it won't stay small for long. The world is noisy, distracted, obsessed with being seen. But the ones who rise, the real ones, they're playing a different game. They're building when no one's looking, sharpening their mind, training their craft, protecting their peace, and refusing to explain a thing. Because they know the louder you talk, the more you reveal. The more you reveal, the more you invite resistance. But when you say nothing, when you just keep moving forward, no one knows where to hit. No one knows what to slow down. And by the time they realize what you've done, it's already too late. So stay quiet. Stay dangerous. Let them wonder. Let them doubt. Let them talk. Because you're not here to talk. You're here to win. Winners don't crave attention. They crave growth. Real growth. The uncomfortable kind. The kind that stretches you past your limits and demands everything from you. Growth that isn't glamorous, isn't pretty, and sure as hell isn't shared on social media. It happens in silence, in solitude, in suffering. And that's why most people avoid it. Because they want the reward without the pain. They want the recognition without the resilience. But growth doesn't work that way. You don't get stronger by being seen. You get stronger by surviving what no one sees. And survival doesn't mean just getting by. It means enduring with purpose. It means thriving under pressure. It means refusing to back down when everything around you tells you to stop. That's how you earn greatness. Not through noise, not through announcements, but through raw, unshakable effort. That's the mindset that rewires your DNA. When you stop caring who's watching and start caring how far you can go. When you stop measuring success by applause and start measuring it by your ability to stay focused when no one claps at all. That's when you become dangerous. That's when you become untouchable. Because most people are addicted to approval. They need likes, comments, compliments, anything to remind them that they're on the right path. But when you learn to operate without any of that, you unlock something that very few people ever touch. Freedom. The freedom to grow without permission, to build without interruption, to rise without limits. That kind of freedom doesn't make you soft. It makes you lethal. Because now, nothing outside of you can control you. Not opinions. Not trends. Not the fear of being misunderstood. You don't need to be understood. You need to be undeniable. And the only way to get there is by earning it in silence. That's the difference between the loud and the legendary. Loud people make noise. Legendary people make moves. Loud people seek validation. Legendary people seek results. Loud people fade. But the legendary, they leave echoes that never die. So ask yourself, what do you really want? Do you want to be seen now, or do you want to be remembered forever? Because you can't have both. You can't chase quick praise and expect deep impact. You have to choose. Choose the path of depth, not attention. The path of substance, not style. The path where no one's cheering, but something inside you keeps roaring anyway. That roar is your calling. That fire that refuses to die is your edge. Feed it. Protect it. Guard it from the noise, from the laziness, from the desire to be liked. You weren't born to be liked. You were born to lead, to create, to overcome, and none of that comes through talking. Every second you spend explaining your dream to small minds is a second stolen from your purpose. Every time you pause to justify your grind, you slow your growth. And you weren't built to slow down. You were built to rise. So rise, even if no one's watching. Even if no one claps. Even if they mock you, question you, doubt you. Let them. Their noise means nothing. Their disbelief has no power. Because they're too busy watching others while you're out there creating a life worth watching. Silence isn't weakness. It's your weapon. It's your armor. It's the force that turns discipline into results. And when those results come, they won't just speak. They'll echo. Loudly. Permanently. Powerfully. So keep your head down and your heart up. Stay locked in. Stay hungry. Be so committed that distraction doesn't even tempt you anymore. Be so focused that noise becomes background music to your grind. And be so consistent that your work becomes undeniable, unshakable, unforgettable. Because that's how legacies are built, not by telling the world what you do, but by becoming someone the world cannot ignore. Becoming someone the world cannot ignore requires one thing above all else: relentless consistency. Not just when you're motivated, not just when it feels good, but every single day, especially when it doesn't. The days when you're tired, when doubt creeps in, when progress is invisible and the pressure is crushing. That's when most people fall. That's when they quit, complain, or look for shortcuts. But not you. Because you understand something they don't. Your consistency is your power. It's your weapon. It's what turns an ordinary person into an unstoppable force. You don't need to announce your goals to the world. You don't need to broadcast your vision. That's noise. And noise fades. What matters is the work. Quiet work, daily work, ruthless work. That's what builds strength no one sees until it's too late to stop it. That's how empires are made. Not from public plans, but from private discipline. Discipline that doesn't flinch when comfort calls. Discipline that doesn't ask for motivation to show up. Discipline that is built on one question: who are you when no one is watching? Because that's the real you. Not the version you post, not the version people compliment. The one that shows up in silence. The one that pushes through pain. The one that keeps building when there's no applause, no camera, and no safety net. That version of you is where your future lives. And if you protect that version, if you feed it with focus, patience, and unshakable will, you will become untouchable. Not because you said you would, but because your actions made it non-negotiable. Because you rewired your identity to match your vision. That's where real transformation begins, not in words, in standards. The ones you raise, the ones you enforce, the ones you refuse to break. You don't need permission to be great. You don't need applause to stay the course. You need hunger, the kind that never quiets down. The kind that burns behind your eyes and fuels every early morning, every late night, every moment you choose growth over comfort. That hunger will carry you when motivation dies. And it will die. That's why hunger must take its place. Hunger doesn't care about the weather. Hunger doesn't wait for the perfect timing. Hunger shows up every time. And that's why you win, because you keep showing up long after everyone else has stopped. They'll say it's luck. They'll say you came out of nowhere, but you'll know better. You didn't come out of nowhere. You came from the dark. You came from the pain. You came from the discipline no one saw. That's what makes you different. That's what makes your story powerful. Not because you told the world what you would do, but because you showed them what discipline looks like. And when they finally see it, when your results begin to speak louder than their doubt, it won't matter who supported you in the beginning, because now they'll listen, now they'll follow, now they'll ask how you did it, but you won't need to explain, because the truth will already be written in your results, in your character, in your energy, the energy of someone who didn't fold under pressure, who didn't need approval, who didn't stop for validation, the energy of someone who built something solid in silence, and now walks in a power that can't be shaken. That power, it's available to you right now. It's not waiting for some perfect moment. It's not locked behind someone else's permission. It's earned. And it's earned the hard way. Every time you show up without recognition, every time you say no to distraction, every time you choose discipline over desire, you are the builder. You are the architect of your future. And every day, you're either laying bricks or making excuses. But you can't do both. Excuses make noise. Bricks make legacies. So stack them quietly, powerfully, relentlessly. And while the world keeps shouting, you'll keep building. Until they realize you were never trying to be seen. You were becoming someone they could never forget. You don't owe the world explanations. You owe yourself results. And those results come when you finally stop negotiating with your old self. The version of you that needed validation, that feared judgment, that chased approval like it was oxygen. That version dies the day you decide to live by purpose, not praise. You don't move for applause anymore. You move for impact, for truth, for the standard you hold when no one is watching and nothing is guaranteed. Because the truth is, most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they're loud. Loud about what they're going to do, loud about their goals, loud about their grind. But quiet when it's time to act. Quiet when discipline calls. Quiet when the pain shows up and demands a sacrifice. But you're not here to be loud, you're here to be legendary. And legends don't speak first, they move first, they act first, they rise in silence. And when the time is right, their actions do the talking. That's the kind of presence that commands respect, without ever asking for it, the kind of focus that can't be faked. Because when you stop needing the world to understand you, you give yourself permission to fully become what you're meant to be. And that version of you doesn't chase attention, it attracts gravity. A force that pulls success toward you not because of who you say you are, but because of what you consistently do. You stop leaking energy through small talk, oversharing, and constant explaining. You stop giving people front row seats to a process they were never meant to understand. Because most people won't get it. Not your dream, not your pace, not your silence. They won't understand why you distance yourself, why you cut off distractions, why you vanish from conversations and reappear with results. But you don't need them to understand. Understanding was never the goal. Execution is. And execution requires clarity. It requires solitude. It requires the strength to walk alone when the crowd wants you to blend in. That's the sacrifice most never make. They fear being misunderstood more than they fear mediocrity, but not you. You've tasted what it's like to move with intention, to choose purpose over popularity. And now average can't satisfy you anymore. You don't want a life that just looks good. You want a life that feels earned. That's why you don't waste energy talking about the grind. You're in it, living it, breathing it, bleeding for it. While others are busy branding themselves as hustlers, you're becoming the proof, the kind of proof no one can argue with. Because when results show up, the noise disappears, doubt disappears. Everything people said you couldn't do fades into silence when they're staring at undeniable progress. And it's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself what you're capable of when you stop looking around and start looking within. When you stop measuring your worth by reactions and start measuring it by results. That's how you earn power. By reclaiming your energy, your focus, your voice, and using it not to impress but to progress. Progress that doesn't need announcement. Progress that doesn't need permission. It just needs you, locked in, leveled up, and laser focused. Every day. No shortcuts. No skipping steps. No waiting for someone to hand you a spotlight. You are the light, and the brighter you burn in silence, the harder it becomes for the world to ignore what you've built. Let them wonder. Let them doubt. Let them think you disappeared. Because the day you reemerge, you won't be the same. You'll be undeniable. And they'll finally realize what they thought was silence was really the sound of you rising. The moment you stop broadcasting your every move is the moment you start building real momentum. Because silence doesn't slow you down, it speeds you up. It frees you from distraction. It protects your energy. And most of all, it forces you to lock eyes with the only competition that matters, the version of you that refuses to settle, that voice that whispers when no one's around, that fire that keeps burning, even when there's no praise, no noise, no spotlight. You begin to realize that your mission isn't about proving anyone wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about honoring the vision you carry inside you, even when no one else can see it, even when they laugh, even when they doubt, even when they tell you to be more realistic. But realistic has never changed the world. Realistic never built empires. Realistic never broke records. For realistic, you're here to stretch what's possible. And that requires silence. That requires obsession. That requires a level of discipline that most people just don't have the patience for. People are addicted to the idea of looking like they're winning. But real winners? They don't need to look like anything. They just win. Quietly, consistently, without announcement, without drama. Because they know something deeper. They know that noise fades, but results stay. Applause stops, but character remains. And the ones who truly lead are the ones who build when no one is clapping. There is a kind of power that comes from knowing your worth without ever having to say it. A calm intensity, a quiet fire. You walk different. You think different. You work different. Because you're not chasing recognition. Chasing mastery. And mastery doesn't rush. Mastery doesn't post every step. Mastery lives in the unseen hours. The nights you stay locked in when everyone else gave up. The mornings you rise without an alarm because your purpose is louder than your excuses. You start to realize that the less you say, the more they'll feel, because silence is a language. And when you master it, it speaks for you. It says you're focused. It says you're serious. It says you're not here to impress. You're here to evolve. And evolution happens in the dark, quietly, brutally, authentically. You don't need to sell your vision to anyone. You just need to become it, fully, relentlessly, until it no longer needs an introduction. And yes, the silence is uncomfortable. That's why it works. Because in the silence, there's no applause to lean on, no audience to perform for. Just you and the truth, just you and the weight of your decisions. And that's where strength is forged. That's where the real transformation happens. Not when it's easy, not when it's popular, but when it's lonely, when no one believes, when the only thing pushing you forward is a dream that won't die. You don't need to tell the world your plan. Let them doubt you, let them think you've disappeared. Because while they're watching each other, you're building something bigger than opinions, bigger than likes, bigger than applause. You're building something that can't be ignored. Something that doesn't need to be explained. It just is. Solid. Proven, earned, this is your time. Not to talk, not to impress, but to grind, to sacrifice. To outgrow the noise and become so consistent, so resilient, so powerful in your silence that when you do show up, they don't ask what you've been doing. They just feel the shift, and they know something has changed. You've changed. Not because you said it, but because you lived it. Because you stopped telling them what you do, and started showing them who you are. Every day you choose silence over explanation, you reclaim your power. You stop giving away pieces of your focus, your energy, your will. Because when you speak less about what you do, you conserve something far more valuable. Your momentum. Words are cheap. They don't build legacies. Actions do. And when you invest in action without the distraction of approval seeking, you ignite a force inside that can't be stopped. It grows quietly, but with a force that shakes the foundation of anything that stands in your way. Imagine what it feels like to walk through the world unbothered by the opinions of others. To be so anchored in your purpose that doubt from the outside bounces right off you. This is not arrogance. It is the natural result of mastering yourself. When you stop seeking validation, you no longer need to justify your efforts. Your focus sharpens. Your will strengthens. Your confidence becomes unshakable. This is the realm of the few who understand that true power comes from control over oneself, not control over others' perceptions. There is a magnetic quality to those who keep their grind to themselves. The energy they carry is different, intense, deliberate, and mysterious. Others feel it but can't define it. It isn't the loud declarations or the flashy updates that command respect. It is the quiet certainty that the work is being done. This certainty breeds trust, not from promises, but from proven results. People don't trust words, they trust consistency. And consistency is built in the shadows, away from the spotlight. This is why you must be ruthless with your information. Not because you are hiding, but because you are protecting what is sacred, your time, your energy, your vision. Every time you overshare your plans, you give away your competitive edge. You allow doubt to seep in from others who don't see the full picture. You open the door for criticism before you've had a chance to build something solid. But when you guard your process, you keep your power intact. You create a space where your growth is unstoppable and unassailable. Your silence is a statement. It says you are focused. It says you are serious. It says you are not here to entertain or explain. You are here to build, to grow, to conquer. And the world will take notice, not because you announced it, but because your results will demand it. This is the kind of influence that can't be bought or faked. It's earned through relentless effort and protected through strategic silence.